This is a quick review of Death End Request Code Z. I'll be breaking down the good, bad, and weird parts of the game. And since this is a notoriously interesting series, there may be quite a few. Also, slight spoilers for the first two chapters ahead. Death End Request Code Z is the third installment in the Death End series, but it's noticeably a spin-off series that introduces a brand new character, Sayaka Hiwatari. She's a Luden, which is basically an android among the many established in the series. This game starts off in a very edgy and shocking way, faithful to the series, and sees several characters in the game including Sheena, Mai from Death End 2, and Sayaka, all bloody, bruised, and amputated. The new villain and culprit of this is none other than Arata Mizunashi himself, who, after visiting the local hot topic, decided to do a bunch of villainous shit. Except this isn't the Arata we know because he's been missing for quite a while since the first game, and it's likely a different alternate reality Arata. But before providing more answers, the game decides to confuse players more by flashing back to the proper start and showing us Sayaka's creation and introduction to the world. Sayaka is then put into the digital world of the Strain area, which holds several of the game's dungeons. We get a quick tutorial, a brutal, traumatizing death screen called a Dead End. Get it? It's in the name. Sayaka then meets Sheena for the first time, who takes her out of there and to her apartment, where the two start living together from then on. Fast forward past a bunch of visual novel stuff, and Sayaka meets several characters and Ludens from previous game who have now formed a new game company called Iris Corporation, led by Iris herself, the grand lolly AI from the first game. Skip past even more visual novel stuff, and edgy Arata and his edgy anime harem make their appearance. Only fans of the series will notice they are copies of the many characters from the first game, some of whom have been brought back to life. So it's up to Sayaka and her friends to stop him. You may think this is a major spoiler, but it's not, because way more interesting stuff happens later on. And that's basically a very short description of the game's narrative. And that explanation probably won't be enough for you to understand shit if you're a newcomer to the series. My greatest critique of Code Z's narrative is how overwhelming it is for both fans and newcomers. There are a lot of moving parts to the entire series, and while Code Z tries to explain some critical things, a lot of details will likely go over your head. Confusing aspects include different timelines, alternate versions of characters, and the weird meta, which not only includes the game's world but also the game inside the world the characters are creating, which also manipulates their world. Then there are moments when the game will refer to you directly, which is another weird level of meta. Then there are game-specific terms and events like the grade in the world, dimension shifts, reviving characters, and more. So all that said, you're essentially screwed if you're a newcomer. But all this doesn't make Death End Request Code Z any less interesting. The premise is cool, albeit incredibly edgy, but that's what's always been the charm of the series. Watching your favorite cute characters die in horrific, atrocious ways isn't something you'd see in many visual novels or JRPGs, but Code Z has that in spades, and all your failures are still as traumatizing as ever, which is great. And some of you will be happy to hear that the game includes your usual you debates and sometimes overly erotic and incredibly tropey conversations return in Code Z and help bring up the vibes after watching the same characters get mauled to death. Yep, just what we need. Now the gameplay is unfortunately where most of Code Z's problems lie. I can only describe the game's gameplay as well-meaning but incredibly tedious. Unlike mainline games, players roam dungeons through a top-down view on a grid-like structure. While the gameplay is turn-based, it doesn't feel like it, as players can run across a dungeon with each grid being a turn spent. You then encounter enemies who also attack in turns, but the whole process is pretty quick and you won't notice how easy it is to mess up a run. It's highly advised to be careful, as every turn counts and the game is brutal and will not hold your hand, even when it probably should. And when I say brutal, I sure as hell mean it. First and most importantly, you cannot save in Code Z, at least not in the usual sense. You get one save slot and the game auto-saves between each dungeon floor and each action, so you can't save scum or retry anything. You mess up, you're fucked. As you progress, the number of floors you have to go through increases drastically, so there are way more chances to mess up and there aren't any checkpoints. There are crystals you can use to escape and resupply in dungeons, but once you come back you have to start all over again. Then there are missions where you have to clear all floors, fight the boss, keep an ally safe, revive the Pope, and escape the dungeon all at once. So it's safe to say if you're unskilled or unfamiliar with these games, you're gonna have a bad time. But wait, there is more, because the game also has a sanity system, which by the way is one of the worst systems in games. But the difference this time is that the sanity system counts down with each action, and after 15 floors and the main character cutting herself with each step, you're gonna learn what an anxiety simulator is real quick. And when you think you've seen it all, you haven't, cause then you have to deal with the glitch girls, which are super powerful enemies that will mess you up at the final leg of your run, forcing you to start all over again if you haven't thought up a proper plan. My tip for you, just don't fight them. Avoid them as much as possible, gather as many items in the dungeons before your proper run, check the shop regularly for items cause it restocks regularly, and make sure you claim your money and rewards after each successful dungeon mission because you won't be getting them automatically. And this is all on normal difficulty, by the way. Other difficulties are way worse cause you lose all your items and levels upon death, which is so fun. But you know what isn't? The boss fights. Due to the gameplay structure, boss fights just boil down to either triggering the ultimate mode and hitting the boss repeatedly or using menus to defeat it with items. Yep, that was the first boss. Yep, that was another. Quite thrilling. Other than that, Code Z has pretty good character design and backgrounds. I wish the models would actually move their bodies and not look like PNGs being dragged across the screen, but you can't have it all, I guess. And unlike other games in the series, it isn't riddled with bugs and glitches, save for one time when I had to reload the game. Overall, Death End Request Code Z is a decent entry in the series narratively, but the experience is held back by unbalanced difficulty and tedious, if not boring, gameplay elements. It still gets a 6 out of 10 though. Are you a fan of the Death End series? Will you be playing this game? And what are your expectations? Comment down below and subscribe for more quick reviews and videos on the latest JRPGs. And if you're one of my subscribers, thanks for 1,000 subs.